It's huge. Yeah, I love it.
Go on then.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so now we're moving on to another way of doing a junction. This one is called a merging, and it just means we're coming out of the side road rather than turning in. So far we've practiced in our industrial side just going around the block, but actually not stopping at any point because there's been no cars. Now potentially we're coming out of the road. We've got to work out if it's safe to make that turn. And the first thing you need to do is understand that there are two types of T junction, as I will call it, because it looks like a letter T. The first one is something called an open one, and that's a really good junction if we can find them, because what we can do is very early on work out what the flow of the traffic is like on the new road. And if we time it just right, there's a good chance we won't even have to stop, and we can do it just like we've been practicing from the approaching point of view. In other words, we can get away with a higher gear. Now, unfortunately, all the ones we're going to do today are these things called closed junctions. And basically, all that means is that when you're coming up towards the end of the road, you can't tell if it's safe to go. And in that situation, there's too much risk for us to just pull out of that junction and just go for it. So we need to basically make sure it's safe before we commit to coming out of that junction. Again, the good news is that the routine that we're going to use is exactly the same as we've been practicing from day one. That mirror, signal, position, speed and look. And just like the left turns when we turn into it, like the blue car in our picture, we're going to start the routine back here somewhere, and we're going to do the centre mirror, left mirror, put the left signal on and keep a metre from the curb if possible. Now, the difference is again the speed and the look, because when we're coming towards the end of this road, on a closed junction, we can't just commit to going, so our speed needs to be really down, almost to the point where you're stopping. And on today's lesson, I actually do want you to stop at the junction. But as you get more efficient and more confident with this side of driving, you're going to find that you can get to that junction. If you can be rolling through at minimum speed, you may not have to stop. So as long as you've done sufficient observations and you feel safe, the car could still be rolling when you get to that junction. And that basically is what I call a rolling stop. But today, I'm going to get you to stop the car even if it is empty, just because I want you to have that confidence of knowing you're at the junction line and that we're in a good place for where we need to be. So, as I say, I'll tell you when I need you to start slowing down, and it's going to be reducing your speed down towards zero. But ideally, because of this rolling stop skill, I'm going to ask you to put it into gear 1 about 2 car lengths away rather than doing it at the end of the road. And that way, when you get better, you'll be able to potentially pull away when it is empty. Now, as for the actual junction itself, on a left turn, we need to follow the corner in, a bit like what we do with the right turn. So in other words, when you follow that corner in off the corner of your bonnet and down towards the badge, I want you to do the same with the shape of the road that you're doing for the end of the junction. But to finish it off, we don't want the front of the car to be over that line. So we need to stop at the front of it. And the best way to do that is with another reference point. And what I've found is if you actually look underneath the plastic of your mirror, you will see the white line appear, the double one with the 2 lines there. And when you see the top part of that under your mirror, it's time to stop the car. If you've done all of that, we then should feel like we're actually at the junction. Now, to finish this off, all we need to do is make sure we do enough looks to make sure we're safe. So, the way I want you to do it is by looking right, left and right again. You can do more than 3 looks, but that's the minimum. And the main reason is we look right for things that could hit us straight away. We look left for things like these cars in the situation that we've got on the picture, where they're coming on the wrong side of the road. And we look right again, because in that middle picture you can see the motorbike is shielded from view. So if you'd have just pulled out, we may have actually taken a motorbike out. They're harder to spot. But if you're happy that it's safe, we'll move off and get ourselves into the new road. And as always, check that centre mirror to make sure we made the right decision. Now, the right turns, most people find that actually a little bit easier than the left, because everything is the same. That centre mirror, right mirror, that right, you put the right signal on and you keep the car near the centre line, just like we practiced from going from the main road. This time though, you haven't got to turn the wheel. We keep the car as straight as we can, and that means all we have to do is look for the reference point of when to stop. So you roll it through with the brake on, get the clutch down and into gear 1, 2 car lengths away, and when you get to see the white line under your mirror, that's when we gently stop. Again, the observations are the same. Right, left, right. And so if we feel it's safe to go, we're going to go, and we're going to turn into the lane we want to go into. Now, normally speaking, on most roads, you'll find that as soon as you feel the car go forwards, that's when you'll start steering. But on some really wide roads, you might have to find that what you do is you actually go forwards until the top of your mirror actually touches the centre line, and then you can steer. So again, a bit like the reference point we practice for turning from the main road. So that's the skills we're going to practice on left and rights. Now, there's just one more thing I want to discuss before we get out there, and that's to look at what we do if we get a really bad junction. So in other words, our view is really obstructed. So as you can see on the picture here, as we're coming up to the end of the road, there's a big brick wall. The only thing we can see is that little blue car sticking out. So we've got these massive areas called blind spots. So once we get to that junction, we stop as normal, but what we need to do is a skill called peeping and creeping to make sure we're safe to go. And all that basically means is with really good clutch control, that tight clutch control that we practiced on manoeuvres, you go forwards. But first of all, before you do that, I'd actually like you to lean forwards, start looking right and left all the time. Because if you do that, you're increasing your chance of spotting something. And as you then move forwards, if something changes, for instance in this car here appears like this white one, we need to stop straight away. Just stay still. If we're stationary, we're safe. And it's up to that white car then to decide, is he going to let us carry on and complete our turn, or is he going to go round us? Again, we really need good observations though, so we're going to start looking at that car to work out what he's going to let us do. But as I say, peeping and creeping is a skill, hopefully, that you're going to be good at, because I like your manoeuvres. So are you ready to have a go?